In this video, we are going to see how to create a purchasing control in Excel step by step from scratch with suppliers, products, and purchases. And by the way, if you notice here in the header, we have a navigation menu that can help us navigate throughout the spreadsheet much easier and faster. Just clicking the button and automatically you can see that you can change the sheets. And also the buttons are going to be automatically highlighted based on the activate sheet that you are currently at. But let me go here to the purchases and let's see what we are going to learn in this video. We are going to create this template right here where we can basically control everything that we are purchasing. We also going to create some automations using some lists in Excel to help us with the data entry. Instead of manually input the name of the product that you need to buy, you go here to the list, you click in the cell to activate the list, and then you select anything that you need. Click and that's it. Simple as that. As the supplier, we have the same thing, a list to select, and also as the status that can automatically change the color. The status is based on the delivery date, and it can be overdue delivery or on-time delivery or received or pending purchase. Or you can also customize any other status that you need to use. We're gonna see step by step from scratch. And we go to the products, we have a list for all the products, and here in the suppliers we have the list of our suppliers. And something very special about this list is I can see the quantity purchased and also the total purchase for each one of those suppliers using as criteria a start and ending date. I want to see only the things that I purchased in January. I can change the start and the ending point. I already have as the start January 1st, so let me go to January 31st of 2025. If I hit enter, the values underneath are going to retrieve the addition based on the criteria of the dates, the range. So let me hit enter. Okay, as we can notice, the values were updated for us. So that way, it's an excellent way to make analysis throughout these suppliers lists that we have. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video on how to create this complete purchasing control in Excel step by step from scratch. So let's go. Let's get started with the navigation menu. So let me click over the first row and right click and go to row height. Maybe we can double it. So instead of 15, I can use 30 and then OK. And as this first row is already selected, I can go to the Home tab and change the background color to a darker blue, such this one right here. Now let me click in Insert in order to create the buttons and go to Shapes. Here I can stick with rectangle, but of course you can use any other shapes that you like. Let me click, hold, and drag this rectangle right here. It's very important to make sure the rectangle is up and all the way to the left, okay? Just here into the corner of the spreadsheet. Now something that we need to be mindful is, if I change for some reason the width of any column that I have, let's say column B, click, hold, and drag to the right. As we can notice, the area of the button is also going to change. So I don't want to allow the button to change the area. Let me right click and then go to Format Shape or Size and Properties. It doesn't matter. Let me click here. Format Shape. Now to the right, I can go to the last option, Size and Properties. Properties, and then Don't Move, and then OK. Now, even though I change the width of the columns, as we can see, the shape is going to stay in the same position and with the same area as before. It's going to remain with the same area. Now let me double click to be able to input some text within the shape. The first one can be purchases. Okay, let me select everything. I want to align in the middle or vertically and horizontally. Increase the font size maybe to 18. Put everything in bold. And shape format, I can choose a different style, such as this bluish right here. In order to create the other buttons that we need, the products and the supplier, I don't want to do it manually all over again. So let me click in this button and then Ctrl C and Ctrl V to copy and paste. I can drag to the right, Ctrl C, Ctrl V again, and drag to the right. Okay. The one in the middle is going to be the products, And the last one is going to be the supplier or suppliers, okay? Now what we can do is we can make sure, because now we have all those 3 buttons that we are going to use, we also can create the other 2 sheets. So, however, before we do it, let me change something right here. Now we are in the first template or in the first sheet, purchases. So let me go here to the bottom of the footer of the Excel, and then right click on the sheet itself, and then I can go to rename. This one is going to be purchases. Enter. Now, because the purchases is the current sheet, I can click in this button and go to shape format and change the highlight to a yellowish one to actually highlight this button. And that way we're gonna be able to know what is the sheet that we are currently at. And the font color, maybe we can change it to a darker one, maybe blue. And all the other buttons, we can decrease the size of the font, maybe to 10. And okay. Now, whenever you click in any button, the highlight is going to change, depends on the sheet that you are currently at. And in order to create in order to create now this same header or the same navigation menu to all the other sheets, let's duplicate this one. So press and hold down the Control key. Okay, press and hold down the Control key. Now go here to the purchase sheet, click, hold, and drag to the right. One more time. Okay, now this one right here in the middle is going to be the products, and the last one is going to be the suppliers. Enter. Now, as we can notice, I have the navigation menu to all the different sheets that I have. Now, if we go to the second one, products, let's change the highlight, because now we are at the products sheet. So let me click here in the purchases, and I want to copy this format to the side, to the products. So click just once to select and go to the format painter. Double click, 1, 2. Now go to the products. Now press escape. Select the suppliers, double click in the format painter, 1, 2, and go back to the purchases. Okay. Now, as we can notice, if I go to the purchase sheet, or if I go back to the products, the highlight of the button is going to change following the activated sheet that we are at, let's say. Now let's go to the suppliers and do the same thing. Let me click here on the purchase button, 1, 2 in the format painter, and click on the suppliers. Ask, and then products, 1, 2, purchases. Okay, now everything is working. As we can notice, if I change the sheets, we can see that the buttons are going to highlight automatically, depends on the sheet I'm currently at. But we are not done yet, because if we click into the buttons, on the buttons we can see that nothing is changing. And how can I dynamically set the buttons to change throughout the sheets that I have? So let's say now I'm in the purchases. If I click in the products, I want to go to the products immediately. So how can I do it? Let me click with the right click into the product, into the purchases buttons, and then I can go to link, and within this pop-up right here, I can choose products in the place in this document. Okay, let me click OK. Now I want to do the same thing for the suppliers. Right click, link, and suppliers. Okay, now if I click into the products, look what's going to happen. Now it's working. Let me go back to the purchases and click on suppliers. It's working. But basically we need to do the same thing again into the products sheet. Right click in the purchases, link, and then purchases. Suppliers, right click, link, and suppliers. Okay, now let me go to the suppliers. And again, purchases, right click, link, purchases, products, right click, link, and then products. Okay, now everything is working, as we can see. Okay, because we're done, we can move on to the next step. That is to create the templates itself. And as the first template, we can start with the purchases. However, before we get started, let's decrease the width of the first column. Let me click in between one column and another, click, hold, and drag to the left. Maybe we can use 2 as the width. Okay. Now let me go to the cell B3, and here I can start with the headers names. such as the date and the product name. Also, I can have ID or SKU or so forth, quantity, unit cost, total cost. Maybe we can have here the delivery date and the supplier name. Also, we can have the freight cost, and because in some situations we can have the freight, let's say the unit cost that we paid in a specific product is $10. However, the freight is equal to $50. So the unit cost is not actually $10 because we need to include the freight into this cost. And if you want to do this calculation, you can create two more columns. One to retrieve what is the unit cost with the freight. So let me just use here a short array, and I can also have the total cost with the freight. And as the last column, I can have a information that is very important, the status. So let's go back here to the first column, the date. Let's say I purchased an item on January 1st of 2025. Okay. And what is the product that I purchased? So the product can be many different products that I have. However, I don't want to manually input the name of the product all over again, every day, every other day, every time that I need to purchase this specific product. So the way that we can automate this task is creating a list in Excel. Whenever I click in this cell where I have the products, I can open, or it's going to open up a list where I can choose the product that I need. And in order to create that, we can go here to the products and create the list of products. So let me, again, in the column A, decrease the width to make it smaller. Maybe we can use 2 again. Okay. And I want to start again in the cell B3 with the headers. And as the first information, I can have the update date. So that way I know what is the last time that I update a product within my list. So let's go now to the second column that can be the product name. And is the product name, this column right here is going to be responsible to create this product list that we're gonna have. So product, and then ID or SKU or any other type of identification that you need to use to your product. I can also have the brand name and maybe the shelf location. Okay, let's start with the update date, January 1st of 2025. The first product that I can have, maybe it's a mouse. Let's also input here another one. Let's use the same date. The second one maybe can be a keyboard. The third one can be a monitor or a 4K monitor. And then another one can be a 8K monitor. Let's stick with those options. Let me increase the width of the products column, also the column B. And as the ID, I can create my own ID, or I can use a ID identification that comes with the product. But let's say I want to create my customized ID for each one of those products. I want to start with 8,000. If I bring this number down, I can create a sequence. Let me click here in this little tag, autofill, and fill series. Okay. But let's say, for some reason, you have many different rows. And that way, you're going to have many different IDs. And you just use, again, the same ID that you already used before. Let's say 1001. 1001, 1001. The same ID for 2 different products. Maybe it's not a good idea and maybe it cannot happen. So what you can do is you can select this entire range, and whenever you have some repetitive values, you can highlight them with a red color, or Excel is going to automatically highlight for you. So let's go here to the Home tab and Conditional Formatting. Highlight Sales Rules, and I want to highlight whenever I have a duplicate value. Okay, just click OK and we're done. Excel is not going to prevent you to input a repetitive value. It's not going to avoid. However, it's going to show, hey, there is a value that you already used before. So it's going to automatically highlight with this reddish color. Okay, I think it's important. Now the brand, let's say 123 ABC, 123 ABC, and so forth. And the shelf location A1, A2, and okay, that's it. Something that is very important in order to make this list of the products always automatically update for us whenever we input new items into this list. The list that we have right here is going to automatically update with the new items. We need to transform this data set into a table in Excel. So select everything and then go to Insert and then Table. My table has headers and then OK. Let's use a different design for this table. Table design. I want to stick with a orange one, but you can use any other style that you like. Now let's go here to Home tab and align vertically and horizontally everything, except the products, because we can select this list and align to the left. Okay, much better right now. But how can we create a list based on this table that we have? Something that we can do is go to any cell that you have, any blank cell, and then equal sign. We are going to take a reference right here. So equal sign and then select the list of products. Don't need to select the header because you don't want to include the header, the name of the header into the list, but just the products, right? So select the products. Okay, you're going to have something maybe like this. The table name and also the reference of the column. What you need to do now is select everything but the equal sign. Don't need to select the equal sign. Right click and then copy. Okay, now press ESC to go out of the cell. Now you can go back to purchases, click here in underneath the product header and go to data, data validation, data validation. We can create a list. So instead of using allow any value, I want to allow a list. And within this list, I want to use a function or a formula. Equal sign INDIRECT. Open parentheses, open quotations, right click, paste, close quotations, close parentheses. And then you can hit enter. That's it. Now our list is already working. Mouse, keyboard, 4K monitor, and let's say the last option that I have is 8K monitor. 1, 2, 3, 4 different items. If I go back to the products and I add here a new value such as January 1st of 2025 and new item, enter 123, 123, 123, okay. If I go back to the purchases and click here in the list, I can see that this new item is already updated in the list. And if I go back to the products, now let's say we already learned how can we add new items, and you can apply the same method for all the different sheets that you're gonna have, purchases, products, and suppliers. If you want to get rid of a row, you can click in the number here to the left corresponding to the row, right click, and then go delete. That's it. So this is how you can add or get rid of a product or a row in Excel. Doesn't matter what sheet you are. Let me change this ID right here. Okay, now let's go back to the purchases. I already have here that new item, that is the item that I got rid of. However, if I click here in the list, this product is not here anymore because it's going to automatically update for us. Now if we move on to the ID is going to be based on the name of the product. So maybe we can use a VLOOKUP function to retrieve the ID based on the product that is our criteria. So let's go here to the ID equal sign VLOOKUP function, double click, 1, 2. The lookup value is going to be the product name, comma, the table array is right here into the products, and be mindful, go to the footer and change the sheets through the tables that you have right here, okay, through the tabs, right? So products, and I want to select, let's say, column C and D, comma, I want to retrieve the first or the second column, the second one, because the second one is where I have the values that I want to return. So number 2, this is the column, comma, and I want to use a exact match, 1, 2, and then enter. Okay, now whenever I input a product right here, as we can notice, the ID is going to automatically change. Okay, it's working. The quantity needs to be manually input. So let's say I bought 10 units of a keyboard, and the unit cost is going to be $9.97. And because we are using here currency, maybe we can select both of those cells, unit cost and total cost, and also maybe, okay, both of those cells. Home tab and go to the $ right here to change the format into a currency one. Okay. What I can do here with the total cost. The total cost maybe can be a simple calculation, that is equal sign unit cost times the quantity, and then enter. Or vice versa, because let's say you have the value, the total value of the invoice, and it's $111 or $115. So how much is the unit cost? Let me increase the width of the column G. Okay. The unit cost is going to be equal sign total divides by the quantity, and then enter. Simple as that, so vice versa. But let me stick with the option that I did before. Okay. Now we can move on to the delivery, and the delivery is the delivery date. So let's say I bought the keyboard in January 1st, and the supplier said me that it's going to be delivery 3 days after the purchase. So equal sign the date, add to 3 days, and then enter. So this is the date that is supposed going to be delivery, my purchase. Now the supplier, how can we do with the supplier? The supplier again can be a list, because instead of manually every time input the name of the supplier, I can use the supplier sheet to help me with that. So we can do the same thing that I did to the products. And by the way, here in the products, I want to increase this list. I want to make this data set larger. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to input new informations right here. Okay. However, be free to use the informations that you need, that you actually need to use as the products. This is just an example, right? Okay, I'm done with the new data. And as I said before, it doesn't matter what type of data set you are using, okay? Because it's just an example. You can use your own data with your own product. Now let me go back to the suppliers, and I want to decrease the width of the first column to 2. Okay. And now I want to start with the cell B6. But why is that? Why should I start with the 6th row instead of the 3rd one? Because I want to do some different calculations right here. I want to create a different analysis, and they're going to help us see how much I purchased for each one of the suppliers that I have. So let's get started with the 6th row and with the headers. So date, and the next column can be the supplier name, and then maybe the email address, a phone number, also a address, and maybe we can have here now the calculations. Quantity purchased, and also the total purchase. Okay, let me increase the width of those last columns. And maybe we can increase the width of those 3 right here too. The column C a lot, and the column B a little. Okay. As the date, I can start with January 1st of 2025, just an example. And as the supplier's names, maybe I can have General Store. Of course, this is just a sample, but you can use the actual name that you're gonna have. Electronics Store. And then we can also have warehouse and let's say supermarket. As the email, I want to just use here some random address or some random 123 at, okay? As the phone, open parentheses, 000-00, okay. I think it's okay. As the address, 123 Grove Street. Let me bring it down. Okay, let me increase the width. And as the quantity purchased in the total purchase, we can use the SUMIFS function. However, we're going to do it later. But anyway, let me go here to the cells above, and we can create already the ranges or the thresholds, the start and the ending point. Because let's say, if we add up what is the quantity purchased in the total purchase using the sum function, we're going to have as result the total, the grand total. You are using this spreadsheet, let's say 3 years from now. So you're gonna have a lot of data. You can't summarize or you can't adapt everything. So what you can do is you can use a threshold, a start and an ending point to make sure you can adapt the values based on those criteria. And the start point can be months, weeks, days, and so forth, or a whole year. Let's say start with January 1st of 2025 and go to the last day of January 31st of 2025. Okay. But we're gonna finish those calculations here later. Anyway, let me select here everything, and then I can go to the home tab and align everything horizontally and vertically. Click insert table. My table has headers. Okay. And in the table design, I can change the layout to a different one, maybe yellowish. Okay. Let me select the supplier's name and align to the left. Okay. Now we can use the same method as before to create a list. So to a blank cell, equal sign, select the supplier's name. Let me select everything. Don't need to select the equal sign. Right click, code. Now press ESC. Go to the purchases. And, oh, we have a problem here. Oh, okay. I already know why I have this problem. Because keyboard does not exist in the list anymore because I changed my list. So let me take here a different product. I can use this one right here. Wireless keyboard. Okay. Let me increase the width. Yeah. Now let me go here to the supplier. I want to create a list. So again, a data validation here is needed. Let me go to data. And data validation, I want to allow a list, and as the list, as the source, equal sign, indirect, open parentheses, open quotations, right click, paste, close quotations, close parentheses, hit enter. We're done. If I click in the supplier, I can choose all those different names that we didn't use in our list. Okay, now it's working. The freight, the unit cost, and the total cost is going to be a currency. Home tab, and click here into this $sign. Now let me increase the width of those two columns right here. And let's say, if you have let's start with the total cost. Your previous total cost was $99.70. However, you have this freight right here. So you need to adapt the freight to the total cost. And that way you're going to have the final or the grand total cost. Equal sign, the freight, add to your previous total cost, and then enter. And as the unit cost, you're going to have equal sign, total cost, the final one, divides by the quantity, and then enter. So instead of using 9.97 as the unit cost, now you have 14.97. Two different numbers, right? So I think it's important to have this criteria right here. And of course, if you want to include more columns to add up into the total cost, maybe some fees, maybe some taxes, you can do so. However, I'm just going to keep up here with the freight, right? And as the status, let me increase those width. And we also can have here a list in Excel. And this status is going to base on the delivery date. We can have as the status overdue delivery, or on-time delivery, or received, or also a pending purchase. So let's go directly to data validation, and we can create all the status or all the options that we need. Allow any value. You need to change through allow a list. And as the source, I can use overdue overdue delivery, comma, the second option can be on-time delivery, the third one can be received, the fourth one, pending purchase. Okay, let me hit enter. Now I can see all the different status that can occur here. But let me, before we move on to other rows to see the status working, let's select everything that we have here because we're done with the first row. And I want to align vertically and horizontally. And the product I want to align to the left. And also the supplier align to the left. Okay. Now I can select again everything and go to insert table. And then I can click OK. My table has headers, OK. And change the design to this one right here. OK. Why is it important to use a table in Excel? In this case right here, because we have some formulas, like this one right here, like this one right here. We also have some lists in Excel, and all those calculations and automations are going to be copy and paste down every time we input a new row. So let's try. Let me input here, January 2nd of 2025, enter. As we can clearly see, if I select here a product, I already have the list waiting for me. And if I choose any item in the list, the ID is going to be retrieved automatically. And all the other formulas is going to work, the status and so forth. Now let me input two more, 1, 2. Okay. Let me go here to status, overdue delivery, on time. We can also have received and pending purchase, depends on the delivery date, right? So what we can do here is to improve the visual, is highlight each one of those cells differently. So let me select everything that I have in this first column and then go to Home tab, conditional formatting, highlight cells rules, and equal to. Every time I have a received item, I want to highlight with a greenish color. Okay. But every time I have a cell that is equal to overdue delivery, I want to highlight with this reddish color. And every time I have a cell that is equal to on-time delivery, I want to have a yellowish highlight. And the last one is pending purchase, an item that I didn't purchase yet. So equal to pending purchase. I can use here pending purchase. Let me change it right here. This one, maybe I can use, let's say, a different color, such as custom format. And as the font, I can use a blue color. And as the fill, I can use a blue fill as the background. And as the color, I can use a orange one. Okay, but I don't know why this isn't working. Okay, because I miss expanding the status. Now I understand, but let's click OK. Let me make sure the status is right. So let me go again to the data to edit this item right here, data validation, and as we can see, the last one is not correct. Purchase. Okay, now let's click OK, and yeah, we're done. Let me change. Yeah, now we have all the 3 different status that we need. Overdue, on time, received, and pending purchase. And whenever we change the status, the color is going to automatically change for us. So that's it. Basically, the purchases is already working. Now we can move on to products, suppliers, and get done with this calculation right here. Let me select everything and change the design to align everything into vertically and horizontally, and also click on borders, all borders, put everything in bold, change the background color to a gray one. Okay. Now let's say I want to add up the values, first of all, quantity purchase, for each one of the suppliers. So how can we do it? Using the SUMIFS function. Let's say we have all those 4 different suppliers, and the SUMIFS function can help us with a situation that looks like this. Let's say we have different items or different suppliers, and each one of those items and each one of those suppliers has a different quantity, like I'm doing right here. If I want to add up only the values that corresponds to grape, and I use the equal sign sum function, double click 1, 2, and select the range where I want to add up the values and hit enter, I'm going to have as result the total sum of this range. However, I just want to add up the values that correspond to grape. How can I do it? Equal sign SUMIFS function. Double click 1, 2, and then the sum range is going to be the values, comma, the criteria is where I have the item's name or the supplier's name, comma, and my criteria is what I want to add up, grape, and then enter. Okay, 10 is the result. Let's see if it's correct. So grape is equal to 10. Yeah, it's correct. And if I change to another item, such as banana, I'm going to have 4 as result. 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 20 is 40. Yes, it's correct. So this is how we can use the SUMIFS function to add up values in Excel based on a criteria. Here we're going to have 3 different criteria. The supplier name and 2 different thresholds, the start date and the ending date. So equal sign SUMIFS function. Double click 1, 2. The sum range that I want to use is just here in the purchases, and be mindful, use the footer to navigate through the spreadsheet, right? So purchases. The sum range is going to be the quantity. Let me select everything. Of course, I have some blank cells, but it doesn't matter. It's going to work. I can fill in this data later on, comma. Now, what we need to do is select the criteria range that is going to be the supplier name, comma. Now let's go back here using the tabs, go back to the suppliers and select the first supplier that I have. Okay, now let's hit enter. I'm gonna have as result the total quantity purchased for this specific supplier. Now let's go back here to the purchases and let me finish to fill in the data that I have. Okay, let's say 20, 15, and 5. Gaming mouse can be $10. This one can be 20, and this one can be 500. This one can be, again, general store, electronics store, and supermarket. Rate 0, 100, and 20. Okay, now if we go back here to the suppliers using the buttons, of course, because it's easier, we can see that the content purchase is going to be automatically updated for us. However, let's say I also need to use the dates as criteria because I don't want to know the total quantity purchase for each one of the suppliers. I only want to know using this range right here, January, let's say, from January 1st up to the last day of January month, January 31st of 2025. Because in many situations, we can have something that looks like this. Let's say we have the same supplier, just to make sure it's working. Electronics or warehouse, let's use warehouse for all the rows. And then I have one item that I purchased in January 1st, January 2nd, and maybe I can have it here, February 1st of 2025, and January, or we can go to, yeah, we can go to February again. Okay, the same date. So 2 in the January, 2 in the February. I don't want to know everything. I don't want to add up all the values, but I just want to keep up with this specific date. So 5th is the result if we consider all the dates, as we can clearly see right here. 10 with 20 is 30, with 20 is 50, right? So 50 is the total result, but again, I want to separate into different ranges based on the dates. So how can we do it? Let me double click again in the first cell, 1, 2, and I want to get rid of the last parentheses, comma. Now we can continue to input some criteria, such as, let's go to the criteria range, into the purchases, and it can be the date, comma, and my criteria is going to be the date that I have. But before I select the date, it's very important, as we can notice, this supplier's name, that stands for the name of the sheet, for some reason automatically appear here within the function. So get rid of this name. And now we only have the comma that we did input before. So comma and open quotations. I want to adapt everything that is greater than or equal to, close quotations. Greater than or equal to %, my starting point. And it's very important right here to avoid this reference be moved down with, because whenever we click, hold, and drag down a formula in Excel to all the rows that we have, the references are going to follow this drag down and also be moved down. So I don't want to allow this to happen. I want the start date always be in this specific cell. So let me press F4 key to input the $sign before the column and before the number to lock this reference. Let me hit enter. Okay, nothing changed right here because all the data set that I have in the purchases list are starting in this date right here. Okay, but if I change this date to January 15 of 2025, I'm gonna hit enter and look what's going to happen with the results. Enter. Okay, instead of 15, now we have 20 because it's working. Now let's do another change right here. Let me go back to January 1st, enter. And I want to add the second threshold. Double click, 1, 2, get rid of the parentheses, comma, again go to the purchases and select the date as the range, comma, and our criteria is going to be in the supplier, get rid of this name right here, supplier, stick with just the comma, and I want to add up now using the ending point. So open quotations, everything that is less than or equal to, close quotations, %, my ending point, F4 key to lock the cell, enter. Now we're done. This is how we can do it. And 30 is the result that I purchased, the quantity purchased in January. But if I change the range using the entire year, so December 31st of 2025, enter, I'm gonna have the total result. And to do the same thing to the total purchase is much easier because the only thing that is going to change is this reference right here. Instead of using the quantity to adapt those values, we can use either this total cost or the total cost that we did after, right? So we just need to change one specific criteria, quantity to total cost. But again, you can use this total cost right here or this total cost right here, because the second one is using the freight into the calculation, right? But let's go back here to the supplier and let me double click here in the cell, 1, 2, select everything that we did, including the equal sign, right click, copy, let me press S, go to the cell to the right, 1, 2, right click, and then paste. Okay, however, before I press enter, instead of using table 3, the quantity, let me select quantity, and I want to get rid of, I want to use here the total cost here, the second option, double click, 1, 2. Okay, hit enter. Yeah, that's it. And because we are talking about here the total purchase, we can change the format to a currency one, home tab, $sign, and that's it. So we're done. This is how we can do it. And some last steps that are maybe is important to learn is how can we use the filters that we have into the tables to help us better analyze the data, and also how can I input a new data, and also how can I get rid of a data that I'm not going to use anymore. So let's get started with the filters. Let's say you want to see all the costs that are greater than a $200. You can click in this little square right here. If you don't have this filter, you can go here to the table design, and the filter button you can activate or deactivate through this checkbox. And the way you can see that the filter tool is going to appear in the headers for you. Click here, and that way you can choose only the informations that you want to see. And if you click OK, the data set is going to be automatically filtered for you in order to show just what you need. And you can apply these filters, and you can also clear the filters. Just click in the filter and then go to clear filter from total cost. You can do the same process to all the different columns. Let's say sometime you want to see the status. So you can click in the status and filter just the ones that you want to see. You can do the same thing also to the products, the dates, the delivery dates, the suppliers, and so forth. And to add a new item, you can go immediately to the first blank row and start with the date. And then if you hit enter, a new row is going to appear with all the informations, all the calculations that we have in the previous rows, such as the lists, such as the VLOOKUP function, and so forth. And if you want to get rid of a row, you can select the specific row, right click, and then go to delete. And you can apply the same process to all the different sheets that we have, okay? Purchases, products, and also suppliers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on how to create a purchasing control in Excel, where we can control everything that we purchase, everything that we have as the products and also as the suppliers, and also create here this calculation to help us analyze what is happening into our purchases. If you have any questions or any suggestions to the next videos, let me know, comment down below, and I see you tomorrow, because every day has a new video.